Don't block them, don't beg. Just do this and watch what happens. Stoicism emphasizes the power of silence and non-reactivity in the face of emotional turmoil, particularly after a breakup or rejection. It advocates for embracing Stoic principles, choosing inaction over impulsive reactions like blocking or begging. By doing nothing and maintaining composure, one can regain personal power and allow the other party to feel the absence, leading them to reflect on their actions. The central message is that true strength lies in restraint and letting go, allowing time and silence to convey the impact of one's absence more profoundly than words or actions ever could. Have you ever felt the urge to send that one last message, hoping it would make them understand? Or consider blocking them, thinking it would give you peace? What if I told you that the most powerful move you can make is no move at all? Let's explore the transformative power of silence in Stoicism. Segment 1, the illusion of control. In relationships, we often believe that actions like blocking or pleading can restore balance. But these are reactions driven by emotion, not strategy. True control isn't about exerting power over others. It's about mastering oneself. By choosing not to react, you reclaim your energy and focus on your own growth. Segment 2, the power of absence. Absence speaks volumes. When you step back without explanation, it creates a void that others can't ignore. This silence isn't about punishment. It's about setting boundaries and allowing others to reflect on their actions. It's a silent declaration that your peace is non-negotiable. Segment 3, real-life application. Meet Alex. After a painful breakup, instead of seeking closure through confrontation, Alex chose silence. Months later, their ex reached out, not because of any dramatic gesture, but because the absence was felt deeply. This isn't about playing games. It's about valuing oneself enough to walk away with dignity. Segment 4, Stoicism in practice. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and reactions. By embracing this philosophy, we learn that our worth isn't determined by others' recognition, but by our own self-respect. Silence becomes a tool, not of manipulation, but of self-preservation. Segment 5, the journey forward. Choosing silence isn't about waiting for someone to notice your absence. It's about redirecting your energy towards personal growth. As you invest in yourself, you create a life so fulfilling that the past no longer holds power over you. Conclusion, embracing inner peace. In the end, the decision to not react is a testament to your strength. It's a commitment to your well-being and a step towards true inner peace. Remember, sometimes the most profound statements are made in silence. They mistook your silence for weakness until it became the only voice they hear. Let that one settle, folks, because that's where the real game begins. You see, they thought your silence meant you had nothing left to say, that you were done, that you'd faded into the background. But the truth is that your silence grew louder with every second they took it for granted. It echoed in their mind, filled the empty spaces where your words used to be, and became the only thing they couldn't ignore. That's the shadow game they never saw coming. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine walking into a grand hall, walls covered in mirrors, but every mirror is blank because you're not there. And yet, they can't look away. That's what your silence does. It doesn't just leave a space, it creates a haunting reflection they have to face. A reflection that whispers louder than any words you ever spoke. And I get it, my friends. I know that urge to speak up, to explain yourself, to fill that silence. Maybe you're thinking, Ian, if I don't say something, they'll forget me. But what if that's the biggest lie you've been fed? What if your absence becomes the very thing they can't forget? See, silence is not the absence of power. It's the proof of it. Because when you remove your energy, when you leave the stage and pull back the spotlight, they're left alone in the dark. And let me tell you something. People fear the dark. They fear what they might see, what they might feel, what they might realize. They thought your silence was weakness. Now it's the only voice they hear. And folks, this isn't about playing games. This is about stoic strength. This is about understanding that not every battle is fought with words. Some battles are won by standing still, by walking away, by letting the echo of your absence do the talking. You're not out here trying to punish anyone. You're just reclaiming your peace. Let me give you a fun metaphor here. Imagine a dog chasing its tail, spinning in circles. That was you once upon a time, chasing closure, chasing explanations, chasing validation. But the moment you stopped spinning, everything changed. Now they're the ones chasing the shadow you left behind. So before we dive deeper into this shadow game, let's lock this in. Say it out loud. Feel it in your bones. My silence is my power. Type it in the comments right now. Don't just write it. Own it. Show yourself. Show them. Show the world you've stepped into your strength. And hey, if this already hit home, press that like button, subscribe for more truth like this, and share it with someone who needs a little reminder of what their silence is worth. Stay with me, because now we're about to break down exactly why your silence after leaving makes you irresistible. And trust me, they never saw this coming. Number one, they can't desire what they can always reach. Familiarity doesn't breed connection, it breeds contempt. Let's break this down right from the start, my friends, because one of the biggest lies they told you was this: if you're always there, they'll value you more. That the more you give, the more they'll appreciate. But here's the harsh truth. You cannot crave what's constantly within arm's reach. The human mind doesn't work like that. We desire what feels rare, what feels scarce, what feels just out of reach. And when you're always available, always explaining, always showing up first, what you're really doing is handing over your power on a silver platter. Now, I know that hits hard. I know some of you are thinking right now, but I was just being loyal. I was just being loving. And I get it. I know your heart was in the right place. But folks, even the finest wine loses its taste when it's poured too freely. Even the rarest gem feels ordinary when it's tossed around like gravel. That's human nature. We don't value what we believe we can have anytime. Let me give you a metaphor to drive this home. Picture a well in a village, the only source of water. People walk miles to draw from it. They respect it. They cherish every drop. But what happens when that well overflows and floods the streets? People start walking through it carelessly. They splash in it. They take it for granted. It loses its sacredness. It loses its value. That's you, my friends. When you overgive, when you're always available, when your energy is always spilling over, unprotected, they stop seeing you as the well they need and start treating you like the puddle they can step over. And maybe you're asking yourself, why do I feel like I need to stay so available? Let's dig into that. It's fear, isn't it? Fear that if you don't stay close, they'll forget you. That if you pull back even for a moment, they'll find someone else. That if you create distance, they'll move on without a second thought. But here's the lie. They don't stay because you're always there. They stay because they feel something when you're not. They stay because they desire you. And desire is born in space, in distance, in the tension of not always knowing. Let me flip that fear on its head. What if I told you that pulling back doesn't push them away? It draws them closer. That absence doesn't make you forgotten. It makes you unforgettable. Because when you're not there to fill the space, they feel it, they notice it, and that's when they begin to question, where did they go? Why aren't they chasing? Did I lose them? And that, my friends, is where the power shift happens. That's when desire is born. You become the well again, the rare source of energy, attention, love, but only if you hold the line. Only if you let them thirst a little. Let me hit you with another metaphor because this one's too good not to share. Imagine eating your favorite dessert every single day. That rich, decadent cake. At first it's heaven, but by day 5, day 10, you're sick of it. You push it away. You crave something different. But what if you only had that dessert once a month? You'd look forward to it. You'd savor it. You cherish every bite. That's how human psychology works. Constant access kills desire. Scarcity fuels it. And maybe you're thinking right now, but if I create that distance, won't they just forget me? No, my friend, they won't forget. They'll remember you more vividly because the mind fills the space left behind. And if you've shown up authentically, if you've given value, if you've been real, they'll feel that absence like a missing puzzle piece. They'll crave what they once had easy access to. But here's why this is difficult. Here's why you're scared to pull back. Because it feels like you're risking it all. Because you've been conditioned to believe that love means constant presence. That if you're not always available, they'll walk away. But the truth, the real ones won't walk away. The wrong ones will. And that's exactly what you want. You want the ones who only stayed for convenience to walk. You want the ones who took your presence for granted to feel the sting of your absence. That's how you separate the worthy from the unworthy. And I know it's hard. I know it feels unnatural. But growth always feels uncomfortable at first. That's the price of stepping into your power. You're breaking the habit of overextending. You're learning that you don't need to be constantly reachable to be valuable. In fact, the opposite is true. Let me leave you with this quote, something to etch into your mind. You become irresistible the moment they realize they can't always reach you. Say it with me right now out loud. Feel it in your bones. I am not always reachable. Write it in the comments. Lock it in. Show yourself. Show them. Show the world that you're stepping into this power, that you're no longer the puddle they step over. You're the well they seek. And if this spoke to your soul, if you feel that shift stirring inside, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to understand the power of creating space. Stay with me, because next we're going to explore how silence creates the shadow they chase and why they never saw it coming. Number 2, silence creates the shadow they chase. It's not the presence that haunts them, it's the shadow left behind. Think about that for a second, my friends. People don't chase what's always in the light. They don't obsess over what's always visible, always predictable, always there when they call. What captures the mind, what stirs the soul, what haunts the memory is the shadow, the outline of what once was, the silhouette of what they can no longer grasp. That's what silence creates. That's why your silence becomes irresistible, because it turns you into the shadow they can't stop chasing. Let me paint the picture. Imagine walking down a dark hallway, and out of the corner of your eye, you catch a glimpse of a shadow moving. But when you turn, nothing's there. Your heart races. Your mind spins. Was that real? Did I imagine it? Should I go back and look again? That's what happens when you pull back. When you go silent, you become that flicker of presence they can't quite catch. And the mind, it hates loose ends. It hates unanswered questions. It hates mysteries without resolution. See, people think they crave certainty. They say they want clear answers, open communication, full transparency. But let me tell you the truth. The mind craves intrigue. It craves the unknown. It craves the shadow because it's in the unknown where the imagination comes alive. It's in the shadow where fantasies are born. And when you go silent after leaving, when you stop explaining yourself, stop showing up, stop giving them access, you become that shadow, the mystery, the unanswered question, the thing they can't stop circling back to. But let's be honest here. This is where most people break. This is where fear creeps in. You start wondering, what if they don't care? What if they move on? What if my silence doesn't mean anything to them? And I get it. That fear feels real, but it's built on a lie. The lie that your value comes from being seen, from being heard, from staying in the light. But here's the truth, my friends. The shadow is more powerful than the light. The shadow follows them even when the light is gone. The shadow moves with them, haunts them, grows bigger the further you pull away. Let me give you a metaphor to drive this home. Imagine a beautiful painting hanging in a gallery. People admire it, sure, but after a while they move on to the next. But now imagine that painting is stolen, gone, missing. Suddenly it's not just a painting, it's a legend. People talk about it, wonder where it went, fantasize about what it looked like. That's what happens when you go silent. You were there, you were visible, but now you're gone. And they can't help but wonder, can't help but chase the shadow you left behind. And the mind magnifies what it can't touch, what it can't explain. It fills in the blanks with stories. Maybe you've moved on. Maybe you've changed. Maybe you've found someone better. And that uncertainty, that's what makes you irresistible, because they're no longer chasing you. They're chasing the version of you their mind created, the version they're afraid they've lost forever. But here's why this works. Here's why silence creates the shadow they chase. It gives them space to feel your absence. When you're always there, always speaking, always explaining, you don't give them that space. You don't give them the room to miss you. But when you go quiet, when you step back, the silence becomes the canvas for their thoughts, and they start painting pictures. Pictures of what you're doing, who you're becoming, where you've gone. And those pictures, they're always more powerful than reality, always more compelling, because the unknown is where desire lives. Let me hit you with this quote. Silence isn't the absence of communication, it's the creation of curiosity. And curiosity, my friends, is the fuel of obsession. Curiosity is the spark that keeps them circling back, checking your profile, replaying your last words in their head, wondering, guessing, chasing the shadow. But I know what you're thinking. What if they never chase? What if they just forget me? Let me tell you something. They only forget the ones who never leave a mark, the ones who never step away, the ones who overstay their welcome. But you've pulled back. You've gone quiet. You've become the shadow, and that's not something easily erased. So here's what I want you to lock in. Say it out loud. Feel it deep in your core. I am the shadow they chase. Write it in the comments right now. Show yourself. Show them. Show the world that you're no longer standing in the light begging for attention. You've stepped into the shadow, into your power. And if this hit home for you, if you're feeling that shift, hit that like button, subscribe for more of this truth, and share it with someone who needs to understand that silence isn't absence. It's presence in its most powerful form. Stay with me, my friends, because next we're going to uncover how your absence triggers reflection, not words, and why that reflection changes everything. Number 3, your absence triggers reflection, not words. It's not your presence that makes them think. It's your absence. Let that settle for a second, my friends, because here's one of the biggest lies we've been fed about relationships, about connections, about human nature, that if someone cares, they'll say it. That if they're thinking about you, they'll reach out. That if they miss you, they'll tell you. But let me break that lie wide open. People don't always speak their truth in words. Most of the time, their deepest realizations happen in silence, in reflection, in the space you leave behind. When you walk away, when you pull back, when you go quiet, don't expect the first response to be a message or an apology. No, the first thing that happens is reflection. But here's the thing about reflection. It's not loud. It doesn't knock on your door and announce itself. It happens in the quiet corners of their mind, in those restless nights when they can't sleep, in those random moments when your absence hits like a wave they weren't ready for. Reflection is the storm they didn't see coming. Let me give you a metaphor for this because, I love painting a picture. Imagine a pond. When you're constantly throwing stones, messages, explanations, reactions, the surface stays disturbed, ripples everywhere. You can't see your reflection in chaos. But when the water stills, when the ripples fade, that's when the reflection appears. And that's exactly what your absence does. It stills the water. It forces them to sit with what's underneath, to see their own reflection, their own behavior, their own choices, and that's where the real work begins. But let's be real for a second. This is where it gets uncomfortable for you because silence isn't easy. You want to check in. You want to hear from them. You want that validation that they're thinking about you. But here's what you've got to understand. Reflection takes time. It doesn't happen on your schedule. It happens when their mind slows down enough to feel your absence. And here's the brutal truth. They won't always tell you they're reflecting. Some of them will act like nothing's wrong, like they're unbothered, like they've moved on. But don't let that fool you. The ones who seem the calmest on the outside, they're the ones feeling the most inside. Because when someone who used to have access to you realizes that door is closed, it triggers something they can't explain, something they don't know how to put into words. That's reflection. Think about it. How many times have you realized what someone meant to you long after they were gone? How many times did the absence of someone's energy make you look at yourself differently? It wasn't their presence that triggered that growth. It was their absence. That space they left behind became a mirror, and it made you face things you didn't want to face. That's what you're doing now. You're not punishing them. You're not playing games. You're giving them the gift of reflection, the chance to actually sit with what happened, to feel the weight of what they did or didn't do, to realize what your presence brought to their life only after it's gone. And here's the hardest part for you. You won't always see the reflection happen. You won't always get the closure, the apology, the words you think you need. But that doesn't mean it's not working. Reflection doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need to announce itself. But trust me, it's happening in the quiet, in the distance, in the spaces they thought would stay filled forever. Let me give you another metaphor. Imagine walking into a room that smells like smoke. You don't notice it right away. You get used to it, but the moment you step outside, breathe fresh air, and come back in, suddenly it hits you. The smoke was always there. You just couldn't feel it while you were surrounded by it. Your absence is that fresh air. It makes them realize how heavy the smoke was, how much they missed your energy, your light, your presence. And the mind, it loves to replay memories when the space is quiet. The jokes, the late night talks, the way you showed up, the things they didn't appreciate, the ways they could have done better. That reflection, it's where growth happens. It's where regret is born. And regret, my friends, is a powerful thing. It lingers. It teaches. So here's what I want you to lock in. Say it with me right now. My absence creates reflection. Write it in the comments. Show yourself. Show them. Show the world that you're not afraid to create space, that you trust the power of your absence to speak louder than your presence ever could. And if this resonated with you, if you feel that truth settling into your bones, hit that like button. Subscribe for more of this energy and share it with someone who needs to hear that silence. Doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means everything is. Stay with me, my friends, because next we're going to uncover how the mystery of not knowing fuels their obsession and why that curiosity becomes the hook they can't escape. Number 4, the mystery of not knowing fuels their obsession. The unknown isn't just uncomfortable, it's addictive. Let that one hit, folks, because what drives a person crazy isn't always what they know, it's what they don't. It's the unanswered questions, the unresolved feelings, the loose threads they can't tie up neatly. And this is where the mystery kicks in. This is where not knowing becomes the fuel for obsession. When you go silent after leaving, when you vanish from their world without explanation, without a final word, they're left in the dark. And the human mind, it hates the dark, but at the same time, it craves it. Think about it. When's the last time you stayed up at night wondering about something that didn't quite make sense? A conversation you couldn't figure out? A person whose intentions weren't clear? It's not the known that keeps you spinning. It's the mystery, the gaps your mind desperately tries to fill. And that's exactly what your silence does. It creates a mystery they can't solve. Let me give you a metaphor for this. Imagine reading a book and just when the plot thickens, boom, the last few chapters are missing. You're left hanging. No closure, no neat ending, and you can't stop thinking about it. That story lingers in your head far longer than the ones that wrapped up perfectly. That's you. You're the unfinished story. You're the plot twist that left them guessing. And the human mind, it doesn't like open loops. It tries to close them. It tries to finish the story. But when they can't, it drives them wild. But let's talk about why mystery matters so much in this shadow game. Because when someone knows everything about you, when they've seen all your cards, when they can predict your every move, that's when they stop wondering. That's when desire dies. Predictability is comfortable, but it's not exciting. It doesn't spark curiosity. It doesn't make the heart race. But mystery keeps them coming back, keeps them replaying, keeps them imagining. And imagination is where obsession is born. And I know what some of you are thinking right now, but I don't want to play games. I just want to be real. And I hear you. This isn't about playing games. This is about protecting your energy, about understanding that not everyone deserves full access, that sometimes leaving a little space, leaving a few questions unanswered is what keeps the balance of power in your favor. Because when you leave it all on the table, when you over-explain, over-give, over-share, you strip away the mystery. And once the mystery is gone, so is the intrigue. Let me break a lie wide open right now. They told you that honesty is everything, that you should always be an open book. But here's the truth. Being an open book doesn't mean letting everyone read every page. Some pages are meant to stay unread. Some chapters are meant to be private. And those blank pages, those unanswered questions, that's what keeps them coming back. That's what fuels their obsession. Imagine for a moment you're walking through a garden and there's a gate, slightly ajar. You can see just enough to know something beautiful is inside, but not enough to see it all. What do? You want to step closer. You want to peek in. That curiosity pulls you. But if that gate were wide open, if everything were on display, you'd walk by without a second thought. Mystery invites, mystery pulls. And this is exactly what happens when you go silent. When you pull back, when you don't explain every emotion, every move, you become the garden behind the gate. They know there's something there, but they can't quite see it all. And that's irresistible. That's what keeps their mind spinning long after you've stepped away. But here's where it gets tough. Here's where fear creeps in. What if they don't care? What if they never wonder? My friends, the ones who never wonder, they were never meant to stay. But the ones who felt your energy, who tasted your presence, who know what they've lost, they'll wonder. They'll spin stories in their heads. They'll imagine scenarios. And imagination, it's always more powerful than reality. Let me drop this quote on you. It's not who you are that haunts them, it's who they think you've become. Without them, that version of you they create in their mind, it's stronger, it's wiser, it's moving on. And that image, that unknown, that's the hook. That's what fuels their obsession. Not the you they knew, but the you they don't know anymore. So here's what I want you to lock in. Say it out loud right now. I am the mystery. Type it in the comments. Don't just write it, own it. Show yourself. Show them. Show the world that you're not afraid to leave a few pages unwritten, that you understand the power of not knowing. And if this spoke to your soul, if you feel that power stirring inside, hit that like button, subscribe for more of this truth, and share it with someone who needs to understand that mystery isn't manipulation, it's magnetic. Stay with me, my friends, because next we're going to explore how they begin to romanticize the version of you they can't access, and why that version becomes more powerful than you ever imagined. Number 5, they begin to romanticize the version of you they can't access. We don't miss people. We miss the version of them we can no longer touch. Let that settle in your chest for a moment, my friends, because when you go silent, when you disappear into the shadows, when you stop explaining and stop showing up, you don't just leave. You become larger than life in their memory, the version of you they can no longer access. That's the version they start to romanticize. They don't remember the last fight, the last awkward silence, the last misunderstanding. No, they remember the moments you made them feel seen. They remember the warmth, the softness, the light you brought into their life. But now that version is gone, out of reach. And because it's out of reach, it becomes even more desirable. Let me paint you a picture, because that's how I do. Imagine standing outside a bakery and there's this one pastry behind the glass. You've tasted it before, maybe even took it for granted, but now the shop is closed, the lights are out, you can't have it, and suddenly it's all you can think about. The taste feels richer, the texture smoother, the memory sweeter than it probably ever was in reality. That's what silence does. And it puts you behind the glass, untouchable. And the mind starts to romanticize what it can't reach. And here's the truth that stings. While you were there, while you were available, they saw your flaws, your insecurities, your over-explaining, your efforts to hold it together. But now they only remember the best parts, because that's what happens when someone loses access. Their mind edits the footage, it rewrites the story, it magnifies the light and blurs the shadows. Suddenly, you're no longer the person they argued with. You're the person who understood them, who stood by them, who gave them energy, time, love. But why does this happen? Why does the version of you they can't access become the idealized version in their head? It's human psychology. Scarcity creates value. The less of something we have, the more valuable it feels. The more we crave it, the more we dress it up in gold. And when you go silent, when you step back, you become that rare gem they can't hold anymore. And they start to question, did I let go of something too good? Did I miss my chance? And the best part, their mind fills the blanks. They start imagining you thriving, smiling, moving on, maybe with someone else. And that haunts them because you're no longer there to correct the narrative. You're not sending messages that reveal your vulnerability. You're not showing up in ways that make them feel they still have a grip on you. And without that, their imagination runs wild. And imagination, my friends, is more powerful than reality ever could be. Let me give you another metaphor. Think of a song you used to love. You played it so much that eventually it just became background noise. But then you don't hear it for months, maybe years. And when it plays again, it hits different. It feels deeper, more nostalgic, more beautiful. That's what distance does. That's what silence does. It makes them feel you again. But this time, they feel more because you're not there filling every moment with your presence. You're gone, and the memory becomes romanticized. But let's break the lie that being there is the way to stay in their heart, that showing up constantly keeps you in their thoughts. No, my friends, it's your absence that sharpens your image. It's the silence that polishes the memory. When you're not accessible, you force them to sit with what they lost, to rebuild you in their mind. But this time they rebuild you into the best version of yourself because that's the only version they can hold on to. And maybe right now you're thinking, but I want them to see me for who I really am. I hear you. I get that. But here's the thing. You gave them that chance. You showed up. You were real. You were authentic. And they took it for granted. They forgot what they had. Now it's on them to feel the weight of losing it. So here's what I want you to lock in right now. Say it out loud. Feel it deep. I am unforgettable. Write it in the comments. Don't just write it. Own it. Show yourself. Show them. Show the world that you're not begging to be remembered. You are remembered. You are romanticized. You are the best version of yourself in their mind because you had the courage to walk away and let silence do the talking. And if this message hit your heart, if you feel that shift rising, hit that like button. Subscribe for more of this truth and share it with someone who needs to understand that pulling away doesn't make you forgettable. It makes you unforgettable. Stay with me, my friends, because next we're going to uncover how silence makes you a mirror to their insecurities and why that reflection shakes them more than any words ever could. Number 6, silence makes you a mirror to their insecurities. Silence isn't empty. It reflects everything they've been trying to avoid. Let that settle deep, my friends. Because when you pull back, when you stop speaking, when your energy disappears from their world, you don't just leave a void, you become a mirror. And not just any mirror, the kind that shows them their insecurities, their flaws, the cracks they've been covering up with distractions, with noise, with ego. That's the real reason your silence unsettles them. It's not just that you're gone. It's that in your absence, they're left face to face with themselves. Let me give you a metaphor that paints the picture. Imagine standing in front of a still pond. When the surface is calm, you can see yourself clearly. Every line, every shadow. But when someone's throwing stones, making ripples, you can't see your reflection. That was you before reacting, explaining, defending, throwing stones into their pond, keeping the water moving so they never had to look too hard. But now you've gone still. The pond is calm. And guess what? They're staring at themselves. And here's the thing about mirrors, folks. Some people can't handle what they see. They've spent their whole life avoiding reflection, avoiding truth, distracting themselves with the next argument, the next attention fix, the next chase. But when you pull away, when your silence stretches on, they have no choice but to look, to sit with the choices they made, to sit with the parts of themselves they never wanted to face. But let's talk about why this makes you so irresistible. Because they're not just missing you, they're confronting themselves. And that discomfort, that reflection, it's tied to you now. You've become the mirror, the trigger, the reminder, and it eats at them. They start questioning, why did I push them away? Why did I act like I didn't care? Was I really the problem? And those questions, that's where obsession is born. But here's the lie they told you. They made you think that if they're quiet, if they don't reach out, it means they've moved on, that they're unbothered. But the truth, silence breeds reflection. And reflection, that's where all their insecurities come crawling out of the shadows. Think of it like this. Imagine someone walking through life wearing a mask. They've convinced everyone around them that they've got it all together. But the second they stand in front of a mirror, they can't ignore what's underneath. They can't avoid the cracks in the mask. That's what you've done. You've pulled away the noise, the distractions, the back and forth, and now they're left alone with their own reflection. And that's louder than any argument you ever had. And maybe you're sitting there thinking, but I want to tell them what they did wrong. I hear you. I get that. But here's the truth, my friends. Nothing you say can teach them more than your silence ever will. Because words can be debated, defended against, dismissed. But silence forces them to sit in their own energy, to face the echo of their own actions. And that echo, it's deafening. Let me drop this quote on you. Silence holds up the mirror. No one wants to look into. And that mirror doesn't lie. It doesn't sugarcoat. It doesn't flatter. It reflects the truth. Their patterns, their mistakes, their inability to hold on to someone who cared. But here's what makes it hard for you. The waiting, the wondering, the not knowing if they're even feeling it. But trust me on this. They feel it. They feel the reflection every time they open their phone and see no messages. Every time they check your profile and see nothing new. Every time they sit in silence and realize it's their silence too. And the more they sit with themselves, the more they reflect, the heavier it gets. The insecurity grows. The regret builds because now you're not the one reacting. You're not the one begging to be heard. You've gone still. And that stillness, it reveals everything. So here's what I want you to lock in right now. Say it with me. I am the mirror. Write it in the comments. Don't just write it. Feel it. Show yourself. Show them. Show the world that you've stepped into your power, that you're not here to argue or explain. You're here to reflect, to let the truth rise on its own. And if this message hit home for you, if you feel that shift happening inside, hit that like button. Subscribe for more of this truth and share it with someone who needs to understand that silence isn't avoidance. It's reflection. Stay with me, my friends, because next we're going to dive into how you shift from available to unattainable and why that shift is the ultimate power move. Number 7, you shift from available to unattainable. The moment you stop being available, you start becoming unforgettable. Let's hit this hard, folks. Because when you were always there, answering fast, showing up, explaining, you were accessible, predictable, easy to reach. And people don't chase what they can catch anytime. But the second you pull back, the second you stop showing up the way you used to, you shift from available to unattainable. And unattainable, that's where the power is. That's where desire lives. You're no longer the open door they can walk through. You're the castle on the hill, seen, admired, but out of reach. And they feel it. Oh, they feel it in their bones because they don't know how to get back in. The old keys don't work. The old tactics fail. And that frustration, it fuels their obsession. Say this with me. I am unattainable. Write it in the comments. Own it. Show yourself. Show them. Show the world that you've risen above the noise, that you're no longer someone they can reach on a whim. And if this fired you up, hit that like button, subscribe for more truth like this, and share this with someone ready to shift from available to untouchable. Stay with me because we're about to close this out with the final power move. Number 8, when you reappear, they see you differently if you reappear at all. Disappear long enough and even the familiar becomes legendary. My friends, when you finally choose to reappear, if you reappear at all, you're not stepping back into the same space. You're not the same person they thought they knew. You've changed, evolved, grown, and the moment they lay eyes on you again, they feel it. You're different. You're no longer the one they could predict, no longer the one they could reach whenever they wanted, and that shakes them because now they have to rise to meet you. The old games won't work. The old comfort zones won't feel the same. You've become a mystery wrapped in power. And if you choose to reappear, you do it on your terms, stronger, wiser, quieter. And they'll never look at you the same way again. But here's the best part. Maybe you never reappear. Maybe they spend forever wondering where you went, what you became, who you are now. That mystery, it stays, it lingers. Say it right now. I rise in silence. Write it in the comments. Show yourself. Show them. Show the world who you've become. If this hit your soul, smash that like button, subscribe for more, and share it with someone who's ready to rise.